Welcome to the Inner Essence, a space of mindfulness, spiritual awakening, and reconnecting with your true self. Breath, be present, and begin your journey with it.
You've been told that life rewards the ones who play hard, who move fast, who keep score. You measure your worth by progress, achievements, the silent applause of comparison. Every move feels strategic, every decision a step closer to victory. But beneath that momentum, there's a quiet fatigue you can't quite explain. It's the sense that something unseen is steering while you convince yourself you're in charge. You call it ambition, discipline, purpose. Yet the question lingers, what if the game you're trying to win was never designed for you to control? You tell yourself you're building something, a future, a legacy, a version of you that will finally deserve to rest. But what you're actually building is a cage, one polished with gold and measured by validation. The ego doesn't present itself as an enemy. It wears the mask of drive, excellence, and control. It tells you that you're almost there, that just one more success, one more recognition, one more person impressed will silence the quiet sense of lack. And you believe it, because the ego's logic is seductive. If I can win this, I'll finally be free. Yet freedom never arrives. The more you win, the more the game expands its boundaries. The ego's world runs on rules that seem invisible but govern every move. You're taught to compete, not just with others, but with your own reflection. You wake up measuring yesterday's self, chasing a better version that always seems slightly out of reach. The scoreboard isn't real, but you live by it as if your existence depends on the numbers. The metrics shift: income, followers, reputation, peace of mind, but the hunger stays the same. The ego doesn't seek peace, it seeks position. It doesn't want harmony, it wants hierarchy. Winning becomes a ritual of survival. You play to avoid the feeling of being no one, the fear that without the game's structure, you might disappear. You try to fix the discomfort by performing better inside the system that caused it. That's the trap, trying to cure the disease with the same virus. The ego doesn't want healing, it wants the illusion of progress. It doesn't whisper, stop. It says, you're almost there, don't rest yet. And so you run harder, convincing yourself it's purpose when it's really panic disguised as passion. The irony is that the ego thrives most in people who seek growth. It infiltrates the language of improvement. It learns to sound spiritual, disciplined, awake. It says, I'm not playing for fame anymore, I'm playing for truth. It builds a new identity out of detachment. Even when you think you've outgrown the game, it adapts, rebranding itself as humility or self-awareness. That's why it's so difficult to see. The ego doesn't fight you, it becomes you. Imagine a player in a casino who starts winning, not realizing that the house adjusts the odds with every round. The longer he plays, the more certain his loss becomes. The ego operates the same way. Every victory you claim strengthens its control. It convinces you that your worth depends on maintaining the streak, and once that belief settles, you belong to the game. Your energy no longer moves from freedom, but from fear. Fear of losing momentum, relevance, or identity. When the ego leads, relationships become transactions. Even love turns into subtle competition. Who gives more? Who understands better? Who's more conscious? Conversations become stages to prove awareness, not to exchange truth. The ego doesn't seek connection, it seeks confirmation. And the moment someone mirrors your insecurity, it calls them a threat. You either try to fix them, surpass them, or withdraw into the quiet superiority of someone who knows better. But deep down, it's the same pattern, playing to win. There's a reason people who appear to have everything often collapse internally. They realize the ladder they climbed was leaning against the wrong wall. Every success feeds a hunger that grows faster than it can be satisfied. The applause fades, the trophies collect dust. And yet the mind, conditioned by years of pursuit, can't stop playing. It doesn't know how to exist without a goal, without something to chase. The silence that follows achievement feels unbearable, not because it's empty, but because it exposes the illusion of control. The ego hates silence. It thrives on movement, distraction, the hum of ongoing performance. Stillness feels like death to it, because in stillness, it loses its audience. It's no longer the protagonist, just a noise fading in the background. That's why people often sabotage peace. They mistake quiet for loss. They return to the chaos that made them feel significant, just to feel alive again. The mind confuses stimulation with purpose. But look closely. What if the ego's game isn't about winning or losing, but about keeping you playing? As long as you're inside it, you're predictable. Your choices can be influenced, your desires marketed, your fears exploited. The system, not just the social one but the mental one, relies on your identification with the player. Because if you stop identifying as the player, the game collapses. The scoreboard loses meaning, and so does every strategy built upon it. To the ego, identity is the ultimate prize. It needs a name, a title, a direction. It survives through narrative, the story of who you are and what you must become. Without that story, it feels irrelevant. But you, the one observing all this, are not the story. You're the awareness that notices it being written and rewritten, endlessly edited to maintain control. The moment you see the story as a story, something shifts. You no longer fight within it. You start to watch it. That's where cracks appear in the illusion. The game only functions when you believe you're a piece on the board. Once you realize you were never the piece, the rules stop applying. That realization isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It often comes in the middle of ordinary moments. Driving home, washing dishes, catching your reflection and feeling suddenly strange, like watching a stranger live your life. The awareness doesn't shout, it simply watches. And in that watching, the game begins to lose you. The ego doesn't vanish after that. It keeps inviting you back, promising a rematch, a better strategy, a final win that will redeem all previous losses. But once you've seen the pattern, it's harder to take the bait. You start noticing how often your thoughts are negotiations for validation, how often your choices are camouflage for fear. You begin to sense that every "I must" or "I should" belongs to the voice of the game, not the truth of your being. Winning is the prison because it keeps you chained to the idea that you must win. The ego tells you the prize is outside, but the real prize is the freedom to stop playing. Until then, you're trapped in an invisible loop, chasing a piece that only exists beyond the scoreboard. It's unsettling to realize that the greatest opposition you'll ever meet doesn't live outside of you. It doesn't have a name, a uniform, or an agenda you can expose. It lives behind your thoughts, shaping them, echoing your own voice so perfectly that you rarely suspect deception. The mind has mastered disguise. It imitates your reasoning, borrows your memories, and speaks in tones that sound rational, even kind. It tells you what to fear, what to protect, what to chase. And you obey because you think it's you. The mind's first illusion is ownership. You assume thoughts belong to you simply because they appear inside your head. But thoughts are not possessions. They are visitors. Some carry truth, others carry distortion, yet all of them pass through the same door. When you identify with every thought, you hand that door's key to the mind. It becomes the host and you the guest, wandering through rooms it rearranges without your consent. The moment you begin to observe rather than obey, the power dynamic reverses. But observation demands something the mind fears most: silence. The mind thrives on motion. It survives through comparison, prediction, and repetition. Left unobserved, it builds endless stories to keep you busy, rehearsing conversations, rewriting history, forecasting futures that never arrive. It's an architect of illusion, constructing layers of noise so dense that the quiet beneath feels unreachable. The tragedy isn't that the mind lies, it's that it lies with sincerity. It believes its stories, and so do you. The mind isn't evil, it's mechanical. It reacts, it categorizes, it repeats. What makes it dangerous is not its existence, but your identification with its content. Notice how it speaks in extremes: always, never, must, should. These are not the words of clarity, but of control. The mind doesn't reason to discover truth, it reasons to maintain dominance. It turns life into an argument where it must always be right. Even your suffering becomes a possession, something you defend because it validates your identity. You don't just feel pain, you become the one who suffers. You don't just fail, you become the one who isn't enough. Every label the mind creates becomes another chain around the observer who could be free. There's a subtle pleasure in this entrapment, The mind feeds on friction. Conflict makes it feel alive. That's why it resists peace. Peace feels like erasure. The mind's purpose is to think, and silence threatens its survival. So it invents problems to stay relevant. When there are no external problems, it creates internal ones. It criticizes your rest, questions your progress, replays an old memory until it burns. It doesn't matter whether the story is joyful or painful. As long as there's a story, the mind has a job. You've probably noticed the cycle. You decide to change, to think differently, to rewire yourself. For a while, it works. You feel clear, composed, in control. But soon the old patterns return in new clothing. You find yourself reacting with the same impatience, the same guilt, the same doubt. That's the mind's genius. It doesn't fight transformation directly. It integrates it. It lets you believe you've evolved while quietly restoring its structure beneath the surface. It turns your awakening into another identity, the awakened one, the mindful one, the one who understands. It keeps you spiritually busy, because a busy mind cannot be still. The mind's second illusion is continuity, the belief that it's a single, unified entity guiding you. But in truth, the mind is a collection of impulses, voices, and fragments competing for dominance. One moment it's certain, the next, it's terrified. One voice urges risk, another demands safety. You mistake this chorus for consistency because it all speaks in your accent. If an external person contradicted themselves as often as your thoughts do, you'd question their credibility. Yet you rarely question the mind. You call it me. When awareness sharpens, you begin to see the cracks. You notice how thoughts arise before you choose them, how reactions unfold before you intend them. You watch the machinery in motion, stimulus, interpretation, emotion, action. For a moment you see the distance between what happens and the one watching it happen. That distance is freedom. It's not a gap of detachment or indifference. It's clarity. You no longer drown in every wave. You start to surf the tide, knowing the ocean moves, but you are not the current. Still, the mind doesn't surrender easily. When it senses exposure, it shifts strategy. It pretends to help you fix it. It says, let's analyze this. Let's control this better. It offers new goals, new methods, new layers of effort, all to keep you within its framework. It's like a trickster who rearranges the maze every time you think you've found the exit. The harder you try to outthink the mind, the deeper you move into its territory. The way out isn't through smarter thinking, but through seeing the thinker itself. The paradox is that the mind is both the obstacle and the instrument. You can't destroy it, nor should you. Without it, you couldn't navigate the physical world, express ideas, or translate awareness into language. The issue is not the mind's presence, but its dominion. You must reclaim its proper place, a servant, not a master. That reclamation doesn't happen by suppressing thoughts, but by recognizing them as transient weather across the sky of consciousness. You stop chasing storms and begin to notice the sky. In this noticing, something extraordinary occurs. The very mechanism that enslaved you becomes the mirror that frees you. When you observe the mind without judgment, you dissolve its authority. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer dictate identity. Emotions still move, but they don't define meaning. The mind continues its chatter, but it's like watching rain fall on glass, movement without intrusion. The enemy that wore your face loses its disguise, and what remains isn't victory or defeat, but a kind of lucid peace. This peace isn't passive. It sharpens your attention, deepens your perception. You still plan, decide, and act, but the weight of inner resistance softens. You respond rather than react. You no longer need to win against yourself. The war within ends not by conquering the mind, but by no longer mistaking it for who you are. The adversary dissolves the moment you realize it was never separate, only misunderstood. And in that realization, a new intelligence begins to move, one that doesn't play to win but to understand. You begin to notice that the harder you try to find peace, the further it seems to drift. Every effort to fix yourself, to think better, to be more centered, ends up tightening the knot. You meditate with discipline. You read the right books. You repeat affirmations until they sound mechanical. Yet the calm you chase never stays. The reason is simple, but uncomfortable. The seeker and the trap are the same. The part of you trying to escape the game is still playing it. The trap doesn't announce itself with chaos, it hides behind noble effort. You call it growth, responsibility, self-mastery. But if you look closely, most of your striving comes from resistance. Not curiosity, not love, but the silent refusal to be as you are. The mind whispers that enlightenment is just another goal, another finish line, and you chase it with the same intensity you once chased success. You decorate the prison walls with spiritual language, but the structure doesn't change. It's still effort built on the belief that who you are now is not enough. Real awareness isn't born from control, it's born from observation. Yet control is seductive because it gives you something to do, a sense of progress to measure. Observation, on the other hand, asks you to stop, to stand still long enough to face the raw discomfort you've been running from. The ego translates that stillness as failure. It says, "You're wasting time, you're losing ground, you should be improving." But that voice isn't guiding you toward truth. It's defending the illusion of becoming. You can recognize the signs of the trap by the tension in your body. Every time you force alignment, every time you monitor your spiritual performance, your breath tightens. It's as if you're trying to hold reality in place. You think clarity comes from effort, but clarity is what's left when effort dissolves. Truth doesn't arrive because you reached it. It reveals itself when the reaching stops. Look at how much of your daily energy goes into managing perception. Not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. You curate your image, even in your own mind. You edit thoughts, correct emotions, rearrange reactions to fit an internal ideal. You want to be the calm one, the wise one, the awakened one, but that version of you is still a character inside the game, and the game keeps expanding to accommodate it. The more you try to become your best self, the more distant your real self feels. There's a subtle but profound shift that happens when you start to see this mechanism in action. At first, it feels like disillusionment, as if everything you believed about progress has collapsed. You may even feel lost or detached, like the purpose has drained out of your efforts. But this is not regression. It's the first taste of freedom. The moment you see the pattern, you're no longer fully inside it. You can't unsee the way striving feeds the illusion. You can't pretend the chase still makes sense. The world will still encourage you to push, to optimize, to become more efficient at being human. Society rewards motion, not presence. It tells you that value is earned through improvement, not awareness. But look deeper. What if the entire structure of self-improvement exists to keep you from discovering that you were never broken to begin with? What if the obsession with fixing yourself is just another product of the same mind that created the problem? This doesn't mean effort has no place. Discipline, curiosity, and learning all have purpose, but their energy changes when they're not fueled by lack. True effort arises naturally. It's the movement of understanding expressing itself through action. False effort comes from resistance, from the fear of being still. The difference is subtle but can be felt immediately. When effort is real, it expands you. When it's false, it contracts you. The body knows long before the mind admits it. The deeper trap lies in your attachment to results. You might begin a practice or a reflection with sincerity, but soon you're measuring outcomes. How much calmer you feel, how much awareness you've gained, how close you are to enlightenment. The moment you quantify truth, you reduce it to another object of pursuit. Reality doesn't reveal itself through measurement. It reveals itself through surrender, through a quality of attention that asks for nothing in return. The irony is that most people confuse awakening with improvement, because awakening feels like loss at first. You lose ambition, direction, and certainty. You lose the comfort of knowing who you are and what comes next. The mind panics, calling it emptiness, failure, stagnation. But in truth, it's space. Space where something deeper than thought can finally breathe. Pay attention to the micro moments where you fall into the trap. When you're meditating and silently judging how well you're doing. When you're speaking kindly but secretly waiting for validation. When you're doing something selfless but watching how it reflects on your image. These moments aren't proof of hypocrisy. They're proof of awareness expanding. Every time you notice the pattern, you loosen the hold of the game. You begin to see how deep its logic runs and how fragile it actually is once exposed. There's a freedom that doesn't depend on achievement, a peace that doesn't need to be earned. But you can't reach it through more doing. You reach it by noticing the futility of trying to reach it. This isn't passivity, it's intelligence. It's the moment the chaser disappears and only awareness remains. In that silence, the mind loses its power to manipulate you. The effort that once kept you trapped becomes unnecessary, like trying to open a door that was never locked. So, pause for a moment. Feel the weight of your own striving. Notice where you're still trying to prove something, even to yourself. That's where the game is hiding right now, beneath the disguise of self-improvement, beneath the voice that says you're almost there. The truth isn't waiting beyond that effort, it's waiting underneath it. And if this realization touches something in you, if you can see even a glimpse of how your effort sometimes becomes the obstacle, write it down. Don't let it dissolve into the noise. Share it, name it, give it form. Leave a comment with one simple sentence that begins with, "I see the trap when I..." Let that be your act of awareness, your small refusal to play the same invisible game. And if this reflection stirred something real, like it awakened a quiet recognition in you, stay a little longer with it. And yes, like this video. Not for me, but as a way of telling yourself, I saw it this time. There comes a moment when the noise begins to sound different. It's not that the world gets quieter, it's that something inside you stops responding to it. The chase slows, not because you've lost interest, but because you've seen through the illusion that anything you capture could complete you. This is the beginning of awakening, not a lightning strike of revelation, but a gradual disidentification, a loosening of the grip that the game once had on your sense of self. You don't step out of the game dramatically, you begin to see it while still inside it, and that vision changes everything. Awakening isn't about renouncing life or rejecting its structures. It's not about escaping work, relationships, or ambition. It's the subtle shift from being in the play to realizing you were never the actor, only the awareness watching the performance unfold. You still move, speak, create, but the urgency fades. The mind still produces stories, but they lose authority. The world continues its theater of wins and losses, but your center remains untouched, like the still eye within a hurricane. At first, this awareness can feel almost unsettling. The familiar intensity that once propelled you through life now seems hollow. You might look at your goals and wonder why they no longer spark the same fire. That's because awakening begins where purpose as you knew it dissolves. The fuel that powered the ego no longer works. You start asking quieter questions, not how do I win, but who is the one trying to win, not how do I fix myself, but who believes they're broken. Each question cuts through a layer of illusion, bringing you closer to the simplicity the mind fears most, being. To see the game without playing it is to realize that every move the mind makes is part of its design to sustain itself. It feeds on duality, success and failure, good and bad, spiritual and unspiritual. When you stop labeling experience, you stop feeding the polarity. Life begins to flow without the usual judgment that makes it heavy. You no longer call it a setback when things fall apart, nor a triumph when they align. You simply observe the movement, as if watching tides shift. The calm that follows isn't emotional numbness, it's lucidity. In this state, awareness no longer tries to control experience. It allows life to unfold with a kind of effortless precision. You begin to notice that reality doesn't need your management. Events happen, people enter and leave, opportunities arise and fade. And through it all, something constant remains. That constancy is not your mind. It's the witnessing presence behind it. It has always been there, but until now it was obscured by the noise of striving. Many imagine awakening as a state of permanent bliss or serenity, but real awakening is deeper than emotional comfort. It's not an escape from human experience, it's full participation without identification. You still feel sadness, joy, fear, longing, but they move through you rather than becoming you. The difference is subtle, yet profound. Before, emotions were ownership. My anger, my sadness, my anxiety. Now they are simply weather patterns passing through the open sky of awareness. The sky doesn't resist the storm. It doesn't cling to the sun. It allows everything, unchanged by what moves within it. When you see life this way, effort transforms into presence. Action no longer springs from lack but from clarity. You don't act to become something. You act because something moves through you. It's not resignation, it's cooperation with reality. This is the essence of surrender, not giving up, but aligning with what is. The current of life has always been flowing in a certain direction, yet the ego kept swimming against it, convinced that control meant freedom. Awakening is realizing that freedom was never in control but in trust. Still, the mind doesn't vanish when you awaken. It remains a useful instrument, a tool for expression and creation. But it no longer commands the same reverence. You stop believing every thought, and without belief, thoughts lose power. They pass through like echoes in a large room, fading as quickly as they arise. This detachment doesn't make you distant. It makes you present. You listen more deeply, speak more honestly, live more slowly. Paradoxically, when you stop chasing meaning, life itself becomes meaningful. The world doesn't change when you awaken. Your relationship with it does. You begin to notice beauty in places you once overlooked. A breeze through an open window feels like a message. The sound of laughter carries an ancient familiarity. Even pain has a strange grace to it. No longer something to resist, but something to witness. You realize that everything, even what once seemed senseless, belongs to the unfolding intelligence of life. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is separate. This shift doesn't happen in a single moment of insight. It deepens through countless small recognitions. Each time you catch yourself reacting automatically and instead choose to observe, you awaken a little more. Each time you pause before judgment, breathe before belief, you peel back another layer of the illusion. Awakening is not a destination. It's a continuous remembering. You remember that awareness was never asleep, only lost in its own dream. When you no longer play the game, you don't withdraw from life, you return to it fully. You engage without the burden of proving, without the desperation of control. You see others still playing, chasing, competing, suffering, and compassion arises naturally. You don't pity them, because you understand that the game was necessary for you too. It taught you to recognize the player from the witness. You realize the game isn't the enemy, it was the invitation. It brought you here, to this seeing, to this silence, to this liberation that doesn't depend on outcome. The beauty of awakening is that nothing external confirms it. There's no certificate, no applause, no grand revelation. It's private, inward, often invisible. Yet its effects ripple through everything. How you speak, how you breathe, how you love. You no longer live to win or to be seen. You live because existence itself is enough. And so you walk through the same world with new eyes, the same streets, the same conversations. But now you see the invisible threads connecting all of it, the play of consciousness pretending to be separate, yearning to remember itself. The game still moves, but you've stepped out of its gravity. You see it clearly, and in that seeing, you are free. The game was never against you. It was within you asking to be seen. When the illusion of control fades, what remains is clarity. Life doesn't need your constant interference to unfold. Freedom isn't found in mastering the board, but in realizing you were never a piece on it. You can still play, but now with awareness instead of attachment. You move, act, create. But the weight is gone. You've stepped beyond winning and losing, into presence itself. If you've reached this point right, I'm outside the board in the comments, so I know you saw the whole journey. And if this spoke to something real in you, subscribe. There's more truth waiting beyond the next move.